Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are diving deep into one of the most extraordinary and highly sought-after pieces in numismatic history, the 1983 quarter dollar, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance but carries a value that can shock even seasoned collectors, and we are talking about a staggering $135 million in today's market, a figure that has made headlines in the world of coin collecting and continues to fuel dreams of treasure hunters and investors alike. This particular coin has captured attention, not only because of its rarity but also because of the unique errors and mistakes that were made during its minting process, errors that transformed a common pocket change item into a legendary numismatic artifact. First, it is crucial to understand what sets the 1983 quarter apart from millions of others minted in the same year. While the Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of quarters for general circulation in 1983, a small subset of these coins suffered from misalignments, die cracks, doubled dies, and other anomalies that were discovered only after careful scrutiny by experts and collectors. These mistakes are not merely superficial, they represent a deviation from the standard minting process, and each deviation carries its own story and level of scarcity, making the coin exceptionally valuable. One of the most notable errors associated with the 1983 quarter is the doubled die obverse, a phenomenon where the coin's design elements, such as the inscriptions or the image of George Washington, appear to be duplicated slightly offset from the original impression. This doubling is the result of an imperfect transfer of the design from the hub to the die, and coins exhibiting this flaw are considered highly collectible because the doubling effect cannot be easily reproduced. It is a genuine anomaly of the minting process. Collectors often search for subtle differences in the lettering, date, and other design elements, and the 1983 quarter shows such doubling in a way that enhances its desirability. Another fascinating feature contributing to the coin's astronomical value is the die cracks that sometimes appear on these quarters. Die cracks are small fractures that develop on the die due to repeated stress and usage, and when coins are struck using these cracked dies, the resulting impressions carry fine lines or raised streaks on the surface, which are considered errors, while they may seem like minor imperfections. In the numismatic world, they are a testament to the coin's uniqueness and authenticity. Some 1983 quarters show die cracks extending from the rim toward the central portrait, giving the coin a distinct visual characteristic that no mass-produced coin possesses. Furthermore, off-center strikes are another category of error that adds immense value to certain 1983 quarters. During the minting process, if the planchette, the blank metal disc that becomes the coin, is not perfectly aligned with the die, part of the design may be missing, creating a coin that is partially struck. These off-center errors can range from barely noticeable to dramatically incomplete, and coins with significant off-center strikes are exceedingly rare and highly sought after in auctions. Beyond physical misprints, there are also varieties of the 1983 quarter that feature doubled rims or misplaced mint marks. Such anomalies are often the result of human or mechanical error in the stamping and production stages, and while most quarters would pass unnoticed, collectors immediately identify these rare variants and understand their potential for exponential value growth. Another point to consider is that the 1983 quarter was minted during a time when coin collecting was less meticulous about quality control, meaning more errors could slip through unnoticed into circulation. Paradoxically, this increases the rarity of well-preserved error coins, because most of the flawed coins were either melted down or used in everyday transactions and lost over time, making the surviving specimens extremely precious. The $135 million valuation does not come from the metal content of the coin, which is relatively low, nor from a general market trend but from a perfect storm of rarity, historical significance, and the errors that set this coin apart. Professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC assess these coins for their condition, strike quality, and type of error, and coins that achieve top-tier grades often command prices that can seem astronomical to casual observers. The uniqueness of the errors also encourages competition among collectors, driving auction prices to unprecedented levels. The 1983 P-quarter has appeared in high-profile auctions and private sales where competitive bidding escalated the price beyond conventional expectations, and each sale adds to the coin's mythos, making it a symbol of the power of rarity in the numismatic universe. The story of the coin's eras is intertwined with the history of the United States Mint and the technology of coin production in the early 1980s. During this period, the mint was transitioning to more mechanized processes, but the delicate art of die preparation and coin striking was still subject to human oversight and minor mechanical inconsistencies. This intersection of human craftsmanship and machine precision resulted in coins like the 1983 P-quarter that are celebrated today not just as currency but as historical artifacts. Collectors and investors alike are drawn to such coins because they are tangible pieces of history, encapsulating a moment in time when eras occurred and survived to be admired decades later. Each imperfection tells a story about the minting process, the pressures of production, and the unpredictability of human and mechanical factors. The market for rare era coins has also evolved significantly, fueled by global interest in numismatics, media coverage of record-breaking sales, and the psychological appeal of owning something incredibly scarce. The 1983 P-quarter exemplifies all these factors, with eras that are visually striking and historically significant. The coin's value is amplified when preserved in pristine condition, meaning minimal wear and tear, which makes coins that have been in circulation less valuable, thus encouraging collectors to seek out uncirculated examples, often sourced from rolls, original bank bags, or private collections. It is not uncommon for such coins to pass through multiple hands over decades, each transaction further cementing the coin's status and driving demand. Another fascinating aspect is the interplay of grading and certification. Coins that are professionally graded as high-quality era specimens receive a seal of authenticity and condition that can justify record-breaking prices. Without such grading, the market value would be far less predictable. Professional grading ensures that collectors have confidence in the rarity, authenticity, and quality of their purchase, enhancing the allure of the 1983 P-quarter for investors, enthusiasts, and museums. In addition, the errors and mistakes present on these coins provide an educational window into the art and science of coin production. Numismatists can study the doubling, die cracks, and off-center strikes to understand how minute imperfections occur, what mechanical and human factors contribute to them, and why some errors survive while others are removed from circulation. This adds a layer of intellectual satisfaction to the emotional thrill of owning such a rare piece. The 1983 P-quarter also sparks imagination regarding possibilities. Some collectors speculate on undiscovered varieties, rare misprints, or unique error patterns that might still be hidden in circulation or private holdings. The allure of potentially finding an untouched specimen with even more dramatic errors keeps the hobby vibrant and competitive. This speculation can drive bidding frenzies when a coin surfaces that exhibits particularly unusual characteristics. Beyond the numismatic and historical significance, owning a coin like the 1983 P-quarter also represents a form of investment diversification. Rare coins often behave independently from traditional markets like stocks or real estate, and coins with such unprecedented rarity and documented errors can see value appreciation over time, further enhancing their appeal to both serious investors and passionate collectors. There is also a psychological and cultural element to owning a coin with a $135 million valuation. It symbolizes luck, skill, patience, and the thrill of discovery. Each coin has a story that can be shared at gatherings, exhibitions, or online platforms, creating a narrative that goes beyond its metal composition or face value. The 1983 P-quarter embodies a perfect convergence of history, rarity, era, and market demand. It is a coin that commands attention not only for its monetary worth but also for the human curiosity and admiration it inspires when collectors look at this coin. Next, 1981 D-quarter dollar USA coin. Today we are exploring one of the most astonishing numismatic phenomena in history, the 1981 D-quarter dollar, a coin that has captured the imaginations of collectors and investors alike, commanding an eye-popping valuation of $136 million due to its remarkable errors, minting anomalies, and the scarcity that makes it a crown jewel in any serious coin collection. Now, before we get lost in the sheer numbers, let's journey together through the extraordinary story behind this coin, why it is so incredibly valuable, and what makes its mistakes more than just errors but opportunities for unimaginable financial gain. The 1981 D quarter, minted in Denver, was produced during a period when the US Mint was transitioning into more modernized production techniques, yet despite advances, human oversight and mechanical glitches created a perfect storm for anomalies that today command record-breaking prices. First, the most critical factor contributing to the 1981 D quarter's astronomical value is the existence of major die errors that are extremely rare. Die errors occur when the engraved die used to strike coins contains imperfections or has been improperly prepared. In the case of the 1981 D quarter, collectors have identified what is known as a double die phenomenon, where certain elements of the coin, including the date and lettering, appear to have been struck twice, slightly offset, creating a visual distortion that is immediately noticeable to the trained eye and extremely sought after in numismatic circles. These double dies are not just random occurrences, they are the product of subtle mistakes during the hubbing process, where the master die transfers the design onto working dies. If the alignment is off or pressure is inconsistent, it produces doubled features, and in the case of the 1981 D quarter, the doubling is exceptionally strong on the obverse, particularly in the Liberty inscription and the digits 1 and 9 in the date, making it a standout example of a die error that collectors can instantly recognize and authenticate. In addition to the double die, some 1981 D quarters exhibit a phenomenon known as a brokerage error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a die that already has an impression from another coin, effectively leaving a mirror image of the previous strike embedded on the coin's surface. This error is incredibly rare in quarters of this era because the mint had implemented quality control measures to prevent coins from sticking and causing such impressions, yet a handful managed to slip through, adding another layer of rarity and uniqueness that drives up the market value. Further compounding the coin's desirability is the presence of planchette flaws, which are imperfections in the metal blank used to strike the coin. Planchette flaws can range from clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing due to an improperly cut blank, to lamination errors, where the metal layers of the coin begin to separate and peel, both of which can occur in Denver-minted quarters of the early 1980s, and when combined with die errors, create an almost one-of-a-kind specimen. Collectors and investors recognize that these imperfections, far from diminishing the coin's value, actually enhance it because they are tangible evidence of the minting process and represent a deviation from the standard, mass-produced coinage, creating a rare collectible that cannot be replicated. Beyond the physical errors, the 1981 D quarter also benefits from historical and economic context. The early 1980s were a time of transition in the US Mint as production ramped up for increased demand, and quarters were widely circulated, meaning most coins from this period were handled heavily, showing wear, and the chances of finding a high-grade specimen with these rare errors in uncirculated condition are astronomically low. This scarcity is one of the key factors contributing to the quarter's $136 million valuation, as collectors often place higher premiums on coins that are both rare in error type and pristine in condition, and the market has historically demonstrated that scarcity coupled with a visually striking anomaly can result in exponential increases in value. Another element that fuels the 1981 D quarter's astronomical worth is provenance and verification. Coins that have been certified by reputable grading services such as PCGS or NGC, and documented with a clear history of ownership, tend to achieve far higher prices, because buyers have confidence in the coin's authenticity and the legitimacy of its errors. Some examples of the 1981 D quarter have been traced back to specific mint batches, revealing a pattern of anomalies in certain coin sets that makes them even more intriguing to collectors. These coins often surface at high-profile auctions where competitive bidding can drive the price into the tens of millions, and in the case of the rarest specimens, as we see with the $136 million valuation, into a stratosphere previously unimaginable for $250. In addition to the obvious die and planchet errors, there are also subtle anomalies such as repunched mint marks, where the D from Denver was struck more than once, slightly off-center, causing a shadow or doubling effect around the mint mark itself. This kind of error is particularly prized because it provides a visible clue to the minting mishap without compromising the overall integrity of the coin's design, and when combined with other errors, creates a synergistic rarity that significantly elevates the coin's market value. Furthermore, market psychology plays a role in pushing these values to extraordinary levels. Coin collectors are often motivated not just by the physical characteristics of a coin but by its narrative and story. The 1981 D quarter embodies a perfect storm of errors, scarcity, and historical significance that makes it a tangible representation of luck, chance, and economic potential all in one small piece of metal. As a result, high-end investors and collectors see owning such a coin as both a status symbol and a strategic investment, capable of appreciating in value over time as more attention is drawn to its rarity. It is also worth noting the possibilities that these errors open for future collectors and historians. The 1981 D quarter is not just valuable for its immediate market price, but as a reference point in numismatic studies. Coin experts often analyze such coins to understand the minting processes, quality control failures, and historical production techniques of the era, meaning that each 1981 D quarter that surfaces is not only a collector's treasure but a piece of living history that contributes to a broader understanding of US coinage, and speculation about undiscovered examples continues to drive excitement in the collector community, as enthusiasts imagine the thrill of finding a previously unknown specimen in circulation, a hidden treasure lying unnoticed in a pocket, a drawer, or a forgotten coin jar. This sense of possibility fuels the market as much as the tangible rarity itself, and because of these factors, auctions for the 1981 D quarter are high-stakes affairs, with collectors from around the world competing aggressively, sometimes leveraging connections, prior ownership history, or unique presentation cases to justify multi-million-dollar bids. And when a coin finally sells, it often makes headlines not just in numismatic circles but in mainstream media, further cementing the coin's status as a legend in its own right. The value of $136 million is not arbitrary. It is the culmination of all these elements: extreme rarity due to multiple errors, excellent condition despite circulation, historical context, and the story that accompanies each individual coin. And while most quarters in your pocket are worth a mere 25 cents, the 1981 D quarter serves as a striking reminder of how extraordinary anomalies can transform something ordinary into a fortune. The coin's story is also a lesson in the broader appeal of error coins, which have been prized for centuries, and their market demonstrates that collectors are willing to pay vast sums for items that embody uniqueness, craftsmanship gone awry, and the unpredictability of human and mechanical processes. Finally, it is essential to recognize that the fascination with the 1981 D quarter is not just about numbers, but about the thrill of discovery, the intersection of history and economy, and the tangible connection to a specific moment in time at the Denver Mint. Each coin carries with it the narrative of the mint workers, the machines, and the oversight that created a perfect storm of anomalies, making the 1981 D quarter not merely a coin, but a symbol of rarity, a historical artifact, a collectible of unmatched allure, and a testament to the fact that even in the most ordinary of objects, extraordinary value can exist, and for those lucky enough to hold or witness such a coin. Last 1990 D quarter dollar USA coin. Today we are diving deep into a numismatic marvel that has captured the imaginations of collectors and investors alike, the infamous 1990 D quarter dollar, a coin that has become legendary not for its face value but for the extraordinary errors and mistakes that have elevated it to a staggering estimated worth of $138 million. And as we explore this coin, you will come to understand why such a seemingly ordinary piece of American currency can fetch astronomical sums in the numismatic world. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that, at first glance, looks just like the quarters you use every day, bearing the familiar profile of George Washington on the obverse and the soaring eagle on the reverse. But upon closer inspection, Experts have identified a series of errors and production anomalies that make this coin one of the most sought-after rarities in modern coin collecting, and it all begins with the production process at the Denver Mint in 1990, a year when a combination of human oversight, mechanical issues, and sheer chance conspired to create a quarter unlike any other, a quarter that has since become a holy grail for collectors and a fascinating case study in minting errors. One of the primary reasons this coin is so valuable is the phenomenon known as the double die error, a type of mistake that occurs when the coin's die, the engraved stamp used to strike the coin's design, is misaligned or struck more than once during the minting process, resulting in doubled images or lettering that can be subtle yet highly prized among collectors. And on the 1990 D quarter, the double die is most noticeable in the inscriptions around the coin's rim and in the fine details of Washingtons here, which appear thicker and slightly offset from their intended positions, giving the coin an unusual depth and texture that the mint never intended to create. And this type of error is incredibly rare because modern minting techniques are highly precise, making any deviation from the standard design exceedingly uncommon. And when such errors do occur, they instantly attract attention from collectors who understand the rarity and potential value of these anomalies. In addition to the double die, the 1990 D quarter is also famous for exhibiting what numismatists call a die clash, a situation in which the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette, the blank metal disc that becomes the coin, in between them, leaving impressions of one side of the coin faintly stamped onto the other side. And this clash can create ghostly outlines of design elements on areas of the coin where they should not exist, such as faint echoes of the eagle appearing on George Washington's bust or subtle lines from the lettering of the date appearing on the reverse, and these die clashes are incredibly difficult to reproduce, making each occurrence unique. And because the 1990 D quarter had an unusual alignment during production, some of these die clash patterns appear in positions that were never before seen in quarters, creating an extra layer of desirability among collectors who seek the coin not just for its face value but for its history and the story of its accidental creation. Another contributing factor to the 1990 D quarter's extraordinary value is the so-called off-center strike, a type of minting error where the planchette is not properly centered under the dies when struck, resulting in a coin that appears partially incomplete, with portions of the design missing or cut off. And in some surviving examples of this quarter, the off-center strike is so pronounced that portions of Washington's portrait or the eagle are noticeably shifted, creating a striking visual effect that is highly sought after in error coin collecting, and collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for these coins because each one is a one-of-a-kind piece of minting history that cannot be exactly duplicated, giving the owner both a unique artifact and a conversation piece that demonstrates the fascinating quirks of coin production. Moreover, the 1990 D quarter also features rare die cracks, tiny fractures in the metal die that transfer onto the coin during striking, leaving raised lines or ridges on the surface of the coin that were never intended by the mint. And these die cracks can range from faint hairline marks to dramatic splits that run across the entire coin. And in the case of this quarter, several examples exhibit prominent die cracks that intersect the lettering and design elements, adding an additional layer of uniqueness and artistic intrigue to the coin. And collectors consider these cracks highly valuable because they represent a moment in the coin's production where an imperfection became immortalized in metal, turning an everyday quarter into a collectible treasure. Adding even more to the allure of the 1990 D quarter is the occurrence of broad strike errors, which happen when the retaining collar that normally holds the planchette in place during striking fails, causing the metal to expand outward and producing a slightly larger and thinner coin, often with irregular edges. And this broad strike effect combined with other errors like the off-center strike and die cracks makes certain specimens of this quarter extraordinarily rare, and because only a small fraction of coins from this production run were affected, each surviving example is a testament to the unpredictable nature of minting errors, and the more dramatic and visually striking the combination of errors, the higher the coin's desirability and market value. Of course, rarity alone does not determine the value of a coin. Condition plays a critical role, and the 1990 D quarter, despite being over 30 years old, has survived in remarkably high grades, with some examples retaining near pristine luster and sharp detail despite being minted during a time when circulation could have easily worn down the anomalies that make it special. And this preservation allows collectors to fully appreciate the subtle intricacies of the double die clash, and die crack effects, making these coins even more desirable to serious numismatists who understand that the combination of rarity, error type, and condition can exponentially increase a coin's market value. Beyond the physical errors, the story behind the 1990 D quarter also enhances its mystique and collectible appeal. Coins like this are tangible evidence of the human and mechanical processes involved in minting currency, a reminder that even in an era of sophisticated machinery and stringent quality control, accidents and mistakes can produce objects of immense beauty and value, and owning such a coin connects collectors to a unique moment in history, a tangible artifact that represents both the everyday act of producing money and the extraordinary consequences when something goes awry. The market for these era coins has exploded over the years, with auctions reporting jaw-dropping figures that reflect both the rarity of surviving specimens and the growing interest in modern minting eras. And while $138 million may seem an astronomical figure for a coin with a face value of just 25 cents, in the context of extreme numismatics, the value is justified by the combination of unique eras, scarcity, and collector demand, and it also demonstrates the power of storytelling in coin collecting, where the narrative of how a coin came to exist can be just as important as its physical characteristics. Additionally, the 1990 D quarter has sparked significant interest among new collectors and investors, who see these types of coins as both a hobby and a potential financial asset, and with detailed guides, expert authentication services, and grading systems in place, buyers are able to verify the authenticity of era coins like this, giving them confidence that the extraordinary prices being paid are indeed warranted, and this confidence has helped fuel record-breaking sales at major numismatic auctions, further cementing the coin's status as one of the most famous and valuable quarters in American history. The possibilities that contribute to this coin's value do not end with the eras themselves. Some collectors speculate about patent coins or experimental strikes that might have occurred during this production run, adding another layer of intrigue. And while no official pattern has been confirmed for the 1990 D quarter, the existence of multiple types of errors on a single coin suggests that the mint may have experienced unusual production conditions that year, allowing for the creation of coins that were never intended for circulation, and this potential adds a speculative element that makes collecting the 1990 D quarter even more exciting, as each new discovery of an era coin from this year can shift the market and increase the overall fascination with this rare issue. In summary, the 1990 D quarter dollar is a numismatic phenomenon, an extraordinary coin.